How to create a random colour zoom effect in Photoshop CC220 or 219, etc. This is a follow-on from an earlier video. And it uses a brush, a random colour brush. Key panels for this, actions and brush settings. What I'm going to use is a layer, and I'm also going to use the elliptical marquee tool. Could of course use a square, any other selection as well, but I'm using a circle in this case. Just create a selection, circular selection, that sort of size. Hold down the shift if you want it a circle, and select the brush tool. And what you can then see with the brush tool selected, I've got a brush 1600 by 1600, which is the same size as the document. And if you look at the brush settings, and I've created this earlier, so I'll just quickly show you the brush settings. All of the color dynamics are pushed to the max. So it's a filled design, filled with black, and just created as a brush via the define brush, the edit menu. Okay, well that's all done in the previous video, so please watch that. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that selection with a brush stroke, and it's going to be randomized color. But I'm going to put it on a layer. You can see a whole load of selections. Now this is the actions, what I'm going to do with the actions. So before I start, I'm just going to create a quick layer. Layer and new layer. Click OK. So I want to record my selection. The transformation, that is. So just go down to the bottom of the panel and you can see a little plus. So click that and that creates a new action. Give it a name. And I'm going to go with Shift and select. So I'm going to go with select 90, 95. Doesn't matter, 95. So it's a very, very small transformation and a slight shift of that selection. Press record. So I'm now recording it. So go to the select menu and transform selection. Just go to the top. You can see along the top, there's got a whole range of options there. And I'm going to go with 95 and 95 for the width and height. You don't have to keep them the same. I'm just going with 95. You could, of course, use 90 or 98 to make it a smaller transformation. But also what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the selection there and I'm just going to drag it across just very, very slightly. Just going to move. I want to shift it to the, doesn't matter, to the right, to the left, up, down, whichever way you want to shift it. I'm just shifting it slightly. So what will happen now, the selection will transform and it will shift slightly. Now go to the brush tool. And because this color dynamics has been set and it's all been set to the max. Now you doesn't particularly matter, you can apply it numerous times. There you can see I've got black as the color. Well, you can change that. You can put it to red or green. Doesn't matter in case for the action because it will just record the step, but the end result will still be the same, whatever color you decide there. So I'm going to go with red, go with green. I just changed my mind halfway through doing this. So go with green, but they've all been recorded. Again, they're all on top of each other, so it doesn't matter. You could always delete them afterwards if you wish to delete them from the action. Now stop the recording. I've applied it. So just go down to the bottom of the panel and you can see the little block there. And it's stopped, it's recorded, you've got an action now. So what you can do, you've got the selection still active, of course. You can just run it. So you can just go on to the, and I've got a lot of other selections as well, actions there. Just go and click on that. And of course you could do this manually, but it's really quite quick just doing it by pressing that play. Just keep multiple times. Now you don't want to press it too many times because you'll go off the edge. I mean, it would probably be better to actually create the selection a bit further over and then you've got further to work with. Or maybe a smaller selection transformation. So anyway, they're the settings of the brush setting. I just want to quickly show you that for the color dynamics. And that will be applied. Now you can, of course, now go and vary that. It doesn't matter. You can vary it. But just apply it now, just play, and you see what happens. The brush will be applied and you'll change the color, vary the color there. And each time the transformation selection will be reduced, but it will shift slightly. So what you ended up with is like a zoom effect. Now you could, of course, create a smaller setting for the transformation. So you make it 90-90, so it's quicker, or 80-80, so it's quicker to a smaller point. Then you can select menu and deselect, and then you've got this layer. So it's on a layer. Now you could just flatten it at this point. You could just transform it at this point. But you can also convert it into a smart object. I prefer smart objects because smart objects, you can apply smart filters, adjustments, and you can remove them at any point, later point. So layer menu, smart objects, convert to smart object. Now you can resize it. Of course, you could also, before that, you could have stored it into a library as well. Just drag it into the library. And then you can just duplicate the designs. Now you could add effects to each of those smart objects, different effects to each of them, or maybe different adjustments. So maybe recolor them. They don't all have to be the same color. So you can always go to image menu, adjustments. Just recolor it. And you can always remove that if you don't want that. And again, edit. And you can also define it as a pattern. Define as a brush preset. Also, you can go to the edit menu and transform and warp or distort, etc. We'll come up with a message. Just ignore that. Never seems to matter if you put don't show again. It always seems to appear again. Anyway, you can then warp that design. So you can sort of distort it in all kinds of ways. I'm just going to go very, very basic warp. But you could add effects to that as well. So you can go to the filter menu, apply some oil paint or liquefy, up to you. Now with that design, what you can do, you can again duplicate that. You can go hold down the Alt or Option key and duplicate it. You can also apply styles to it. So layer menu, layer style, and drop shadow. A bevel. Maybe a color overlay or a gradient. Up to you. Click OK. So you've got your design there now. Again, you can duplicate it. Hold down the Alt or Option key and just simply drag and duplicate. And at any point, you can always change the design. That's the great thing about smart objects. The underlying design is not changed, but smart object itself, you can add additional effects to, and much, much more. And you can, of course, transform that. You can resize it, rotate it. So you can reduce it down a bit. You can see the underlying design there. See, all the others are all, you can just move that around. Now, none of the others are changed. Only we haven't changed the smart object, the actual source material. And you can just duplicate that design over and over again, fill the entire screen, or whatever you want to do. I'm just doing that just to show you how to create some interesting, colourful designs with this zoom effect. And there's all the selections there, the actions. And if you want to, of course, once you've done your design, you can bring up the layers panel. You can go window and layers. And you can just go and select all of those designs. So all those smart objects all been selected. And what you can do, you can flatten it if you want. You can go to layer menu and flatten or merge. But you can also go to layer menu, smart objects, and convert to a smart object. Convert the whole lot to a smart object. Now, one trouble with that is that because I've gone over the edge, you'll notice there will be an edge there. It's probably best to avoid the edge. So if you wanted to create a design like that, it would have been better to create them all more in the central part. And then you wouldn't have that sort of cut across it. But you can always get around that by just moving it around and trying to avoid the obvious cut in the design. But I just wanted to show you, you can combine all of those smart objects into a new smart object and so on and so on. And then, of course, what you can do, you can go to the edit menu, transform and warp that. And again, like I say, you will get that sharp edge now, unfortunately. With a bit of careful manipulation, you can make it not so obvious. And you can fill that with that design, with all these colourful designs. And then with each of those smart objects, what you can do, you can go to the filter menu and apply effects to those. You can also go to the image menu and adjustments and recolour that smart object. So it's completely different. And again, you can always resize that design so you can drag it off the screen if you wish. And you can do the same with all the others as well. Manipulate them further as well. And then once you're finished, you could turn all that lot into a smart object if you wish, or just flatten it and then maybe apply effects, maybe an oil paint or blur, etc. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphic Extras channel. Always have new tutorials all the time. Any comments, always appreciated. Dislike or like. Thank you much.